Hello everyone, and I'm glad to be here this year one more time. And since the topic of the festival is resilience or resilient city, I decided to talk about diversity and inclusion as a possibility for resilient cities. So probably you are wondering why I'm talking about that and what should it mean for our cities. And I would say that if we look at the development in big cities, migration, people getting older, different people living together, inclusion and diversity as a possibility for everybody to participate equally in urban environment is essential for our cities. But what is diversity actually? And how diverse is our life, our cities? And to answer this, you can simply ask yourself how diverse you are actually living, how many people you meet which are different. How many of your friends are 10 years more younger or older than you? Do you know many people from different kind of cultural background? How many people with handicaps do you really personally know? And how many really different people we meet every day? In the DIA we have 200 students from 50 different countries or cultures. And after graduating from the DIA, suddenly you find out that basically there is nothing which is normal existing. The way you cook, the way you look like, the way you make parties. There are so many different ways of doing that. And one of the little cultural initiative which the students have started is called Plum Nights, where different nations are introducing kind of their culture with a small movie evening and cooking and discussions. But what about inclusion? Who has heard the word inclusion before? We have one person. Inclusion, inclusia. So not very popular yet, but discussed a lot in Europe. So to describe a little bit about that, so inclusion is basically not exclusion. And exclusion would mean that small groups of people, which are a bit different from the mainstream, are kind of out of the society and that they don't have equal rights. Integration, this is what integracja, this is what have been discussed much in the last years. And that would mean that people who are a bit different are invited to participate, but they not have really the equal rights, or they're not really integrated in different parts of society. For example, if in Germany or probably in many countries there are kind of special factories where people with handicaps are working, and that would be integration. So they do work as well, but not with other people. And inclusion would mean that all the different people are simply living together, no matter what differences they have. Now I'm gonna give you one number. 8 million. 8 million people with disabilities are living in Germany. This is about 10%. Very similar in the world, global level, about 10% of the world population have different handicaps. And that's only the registered number. So if we as architects or planners talk about accessibility, it is very important and for some people necessary to participate in the society or in the cities. And they're all different kind of barriers or ways to provide barrier-free environment. And every single person needs accessibility in different parts different times, in different periods of life. If you're a child or if you're getting older, you're not so mobile and you're very happy if you can use an elevator. If you have an injury, a temporal injury, you need that. Even if you take a big luggage and you're traveling, you also need barrier-free environment. So sooner or later, and since people are getting older and older in many cities, accessibility is getting more important. And even if you have a friend or if you know someone who needs accessibility, you are also interested in that. So you could say, or I would argue, that accessibility is important for everybody. Now, maybe that's enough with the numbers, and I will show now a small example from my own experience. And I'm not sure if it's gonna, yeah. All right, so I just keep on speaking, and this is a small kind of collection of images from my apartment in Berlin. And I am showing this because I think that our flat share is inclusive, and this is where inclusion does work. So we have different people of different ages, from different nationalities, different sexual orientation, different kind of jobs, studying or working, living together. During the last several years, we had 4 or 5 people in this flat, and obviously you can see we also have people with and without disabilities living together. We are asked quite often if it is kind of a special inclusive project, or also I'm asked if me, as a not yet disabled person, if I need to help or if I need to do something special. And I have to say, I have to disappoint and say, absolutely no. There is nothing special, there is no concept behind it, it just works. Because if people suddenly come together, and it is possible, then you find out that it's not so difficult. And like in any other flat share, the main topic is not if somebody is on a wheelchair or not, it's rather a topic if somebody has cleaned the dishes or not. And this is the same for every people. So also from the architecture or planning point of view, it's not a very special apartment. We have even 2 levels. We have the stairs, so 2 of us or 1 of us can't really go upstairs, and we didn't build something very special there. But it does work, and that's also a part where you can think of architecture and say, well, what architects think is very difficult, sometimes it's much easier actually, and the people are much more flexible, and not always due to the kind of norms, and you can't measure really the needs of the wheelchair user because they're all actually different people. So in St. Petersburg, from my background, because I come from St. Petersburg, I can say that accessibility is not very far. And it was interesting for me to experience and try out, for example, wheelchair basketball and all those different things which you can actually do with a wheelchair. As an architect, to see that the barriers are very often not actually existing, let's say, they're not existing so often in the practical kind of part, but in the built environment, or maybe in our minds, but as soon as you go through the kind of barrier and you know, you're not afraid of that anymore, and suddenly inclusion is not that difficult in the end. So unfortunately, not everybody has the opportunity to have a nice apartment with different people and to experience the diversity. So what we started to do with my organization, ID22, Institute for Creative Sustainability, and we call it Creative Accessibility Tours and Workshops, to give the opportunity to people who did not or do not still yet experience with mobility problems or with disabilities or handicaps to experience different barriers and to see what it actually really means to move in the city and to use, for example, different tools which blind people or people who can't see that well use to orient and to find their way, or also to use the wheelchair or walkers to walk around. And this is, we think, it's quite an effective way to learn, also for especially architects and planners who actually can affect our surrounding. And we found out that after 1 or 2 hours experiencing a different perspective, people try to realize and really remember what it means instead of reading books and then forgetting about that. So experiencing, we found out, is a very important kind of way. And we also try out different ways to walk around, and also something which you would not think is quite possible. For example, using this kind of stair with a wheelchair, which is not allowed, by the way, but it is possible. So that's about looking at a different perspective, and on one hand side, seeing the barriers and problems which you would otherwise not see, and on the other hand side, to see the solutions which are probably there. And yeah, so sometimes you would really see the world in a different way. And it's not only playing around and fun, it can be very uncomfortable, and it requires some kind of, let's try it and go for it. And this kind of going through these uncomfortable parts also makes you realize that everyday tasks, which are for you maybe quite normal and easy, are for people who are using a wheelchair, for example, like entering a supermarket, can be very difficult. You also realize different small things which help you, for example, to cross the traffic light. And you also see that this kind of things which are supposed to help are not always quite working. So it's all about seeing where the problem is, where the solution is, and especially if the standard solution is really helping. We also did a small kind of action workshop at the DIA for our Campus Fest. It was called Inclusion on Campus, and there were invited different students and architects, teachers, to try out wheelchairs, for example, and see if the campus is actually accessible. And this is the dean of the campus who is trying out the wheelchair, I would probably guess for the first time. And so we marked different entrances with questions, not really statements, but with questions. Is that accessible? Would you find the entrance if you were blind? Would you hear that if you couldn't be hearing so well? So just raising the questions about the space. And we found out, this is actually, you don't see it that well, but the story is too crazy to be true. Here is a ramp where you could go down, because there are just 3 stairs to go to the main lecture hall on our campus. And due to the norms and rules, this ramp, you can't believe it, 1 centimeter smaller than it's supposed to be. So for this reason, officially, you can't use it. That's why there was an extra elevator, very expensive one, built on the campus, which is not used for 10 years now. Now, this is a very German kind of regulation thing, but I'm quite sure it's a bit similar in different countries, and it's really far from solving the problem, really, but it's following the rules and getting the stamp, and then, the building is accessible, which is others probably not. And also during this kind of action, we had nice situations where people would do sports together, for example, using a wheelchair and just, hang around. And this is kind of a very easy and natural way of people coming together. And really, these people are using the wheelchair since 5 minutes, but you can see that, this kind of topics are not really so important if you are just starting to be part of the party or whatever. Campus Fest, meeting, working, just part of the life. So, this is only in German, what you can read here. Wir müssen leider draußen bleiben. And I can't translate it really, so I didn't write it in Russian or English. But if you have a shop where you're not allowed to enter with your dog, like this one, then it looks like this. You write in German, unfortunately, we have to stay outside. Or in Russian, I think you write usually "Собаками вход запрещен." And then you have this kind of sign, which we used with this icon of the wheelchair user and the steps to mark different situations, different kind of shops in the city. So we are kind of walking around in Berlin and looking at sometimes a Chinese step, which is already a problem for entering an apartment if you need to use walkers, or even if you have a small child, or if you're a wheelchair user, of course. Or using the subway, which is, I realized after yesterday walking around in Kiev, also a big problem to get to the subway without taking the steps. Also going to the, if you go to doctor, which is anyway not so fun part usually, in Germany, even in Germany, not so many doctors are actually barrier-free, which is a big problem. So that means you would be choosing a doctor because of no steps and not because of the quality. Choosing an apartment in Berlin, I'm not sure how it is in Kiev. In Berlin it's very difficult to find an apartment. And if you want to have a barrier-free apartment, but that is becoming really, really, really hard. So what happened? So we placed this kind of little sign on different doors of different shops, for example, and I would say 90% of cases they just put them away because it's not a very good advertisement for their business. But some people even leave us a note to respond and to say, okay, well, that's a good point, and we are working on it. So we want to get a ramp, and if you want to donate, you're very welcome. Or just saying, no, you don't have to stay outside, we can help. So we can help you to get inside if necessary, if it's needed. So in the end, I would, I think it's important simply to think about that, to talk about that, and especially as architects and planners, to have this kind of, to change the fact that accessibility is usually seen as kind of an extra feature when the project is ready. Oh no, we forgot the ramp, oh God. And then you put the stupid ramp and it looks so ugly and nobody wants it. Or to make a white door and a white wall and everything in nice colors so that if somebody cannot see so well, will never find the stupid door. This kind of things should be the priority and the part of the project and not kind of an extra feature, because this is something which is important for everybody, not only for that wheelchair user on the icon. So let's talk about it, let's think about it. Diversity is a possibility for all, for everybody. Thank you. If you have any questions, if it's allowed.
Ви можете підняти руку, і я підійду до вас. Ви можете задати питання Ларісі.
Вопросы можно по-русски. It was very boring, or nobody understood the lecture, maybe.
Not boring.
Можно по-русски, да, спрашивать? Да. Подскажите, вы не спрашивали разрешения, можно ли вешать таблички, так? А в какое время дня вы это делали? Первый вопрос. И второй вопрос. Как к этому относятся, органы порядка? То есть является это каким-то хулиганством в Берлине? Как к этому относятся именно в городе? Спасибо.
Спасибо. Естественно, это не разрешено. Разумеется, это нельзя делать. Поэтому мы были несколько осторожны и заказали наклеечки специальные, чтобы если их снимать, то не остается никаких следов. Поэтому помимо этого, в общем-то, мы особо не прячемся. То есть это такая... Что они с нами сделают? То есть, естественно, это не запрещено, но это и не сильно штрафуется, если осторожно наклеивать. Наклеиваю я и днем, и вечером, и, как правило, поскольку тема такая, то с этим не возникает проблема, возникают скорее другие вопросы.
Можливо, ще є питання?
Как это помогло решить проблему в общем? Я повторю вопрос. Как это помогло решить в общем всю проблему?
Проблема не решена, далеко не решена. Наши проекты и экскурсии, воркшопы, и эта маленькая наклеечка — это все одна часть большого процесса. Поэтому, естественно, это вопрос такой сложный, и нет одного решения этого вопроса. То, что мы пытаемся достичь, и то, чего мы, я думаю, что отчасти достигаем, это, как говорится, хотя бы для начала того, что люди об этом думают и говорят. И это уже начало, потому что, как правило, на тему безбарьерной среды, либо среды для маломобильных, она, по крайней мере, в архитектуре особенно не обсуждается, и если обсуждается, то только как, поскольку это необходимо по закону. И мы пытаемся, с одной стороны, объяснить, что это не только по закону необходимо, но и по здравому смыслу, и с другой стороны, что решения, которые действительно к чему-то приводят, они не всегда по СНИПу или по нормам, а они по человеческому размышлению бывают, что другие как бы пути. И если об этом думать, если об этом говорить и рассуждать, то уже очень многое достигается. И в том числе тоже многие люди, которые с этой темой не сталкиваются, не знают, как на эту тему говорить, что можно спросить, можно ли предложить помощь или нет. Это еще на тему тоже коммуникации, как общаться с друг другом. Примерно так.
Ще питання?
Скажите, пожалуйста, вы увидели во время вашего эксперимента какие-то особо удачные решения объектов инфраструктуры, которые доступны для людей с ограниченными возможностями? Спасибо.
В архитектуре или в городе? Это не часть нашего проекта, но есть в Берлине один из проектов, который достаточно удачный и пользуется успехом. Дело в том, что в Берлине, как и во многих исторических центрах, ну, имею в виду в историческом центре Берлина, многие заведения или магазинчики, у них всего одна или две ступеньки на входе. И это уже большая проблема для многих людей, решается с помощью рампы. И в Берлине, например, Sozialhelden, они называются как социальные герои, это некоммерческая организация, которая организовала акцию «1001 рампа». И по этой акции были собраны пожертвования, и на эти деньги были распределены 1001 рампа на магазины, киоски и так далее. И это складная рампа, которую можно просто хранить в магазине, и если кто-то просит, можно ее поставить, и человек с коляской, с детской коляской или с креслом коляской может зайти в магазин. Например, вот это очень простая как бы акция, которая в архитектурном смысле очень сложно построить рампу на входе, потому что нужно согласование, может быть, мало места и так далее. Но вот это вот один пример такого мобильного решения. И не на архитектурном уровне есть, например, платформы, которые помогают просто информации. Например, Broken Lifts — это веб-сайт, который показывает информацию о том, какие лифты работают, какие не работают в метро. Если лифта нет в принципе, то это, конечно, другая ситуация. Но в этом случае. То есть есть многие проекты, но, конечно, есть проблемы, которые решаются только с помощью поддержки государства либо города, которые на таком глобальном уровне не решаются. И, наверное, еще вот последнее, то, что тоже очень важно, если об этом обсуждать, и когда вот эта тема инклюзии становится как трендом, то многие компании начинают это поддерживать. И если это примерно как sustainability, то есть если с устойчивостью, если достичь какого-то определенного момента, то тема начинается трендом, и как бы большие компании начинают тоже поддерживать. И с этого момента начинается уже что-то быть проще, скажем так.
Еще вопросы?
Ну, я хотела спросить, хорошо ли адаптирован ДСАУ для людей с малыми возможностями мобильности, зрения или слуха?
Так себе. Это по-разному. Я бы сказала, смотря на каком уровне сравнивать. Если сравнивать на Украине, я не очень знаю, но, например, в Санкт-Петербурге, если сравнивать с Берлином, большие города, то, конечно, разница огромная, потому что в Питере и в метро нет лифта и так далее. Если сравнивать, наверное, небольшие города в Украине или в России с небольшими городами в Германии, то, наверное, разница тоже очень серьезная. На европейском уровне или на уровне Германии дело в том, что государственные учреждения, например, как ратуша и так далее, они обычно безбарьерны, у них безбарьерная среда, они обязаны это делать. Но проблема, скорее всего, если в пекарню пойти, в кафе и так далее, куда вообще-то пойти хочется, либо квартиры, то тут уже сложнее. Но, как говорится, смотря с чем сравнивать.
И еще один вопрос вот для обучения архитектуре. У многих студентов вот во время обучения начинаются проблемы со зрением, и как-то в институтах, в учебных заведениях поддерживаются люди с проблемами со зрением. То есть я понимаю, что сложно быть архитектором, если зрения вообще нет, но...
Может быть, и лучше даже.
Ну да, бывают случаи.
Нет, на самом деле, тут обычно нужно смотреть в индивидуальном порядке. В любом случае, в Германии в целом, вообще говоря, дискриминация по каким-то там факторам, это не запрещено, как бы это незаконно запрещено, и это особенно в государственных учреждениях, в университетах, это совершенно исключено. Поэтому совершенно неважно, если кто-то подает документы или обучается с какими-то ограничениями, это, по идее, не должно быть проблемой. Но это на глобальном уровне, по закону, независимо от физических ограничений, все должны иметь возможность участвовать, полноценно принимать участие в обществе, в социальных каких-то, в обучении, в образовании, в работе. И, конечно же, бывают свои проблемы, то есть нужно решать, но желание есть, и стремление есть, и необходимость тоже есть.
Да. Ну, то есть все визуальные материалы, их возможно передать с помощью аудиоматериалов или, я не знаю, Брайль или...
Насчет этого это не только в университетах, но вообще есть сейчас, к счастью, многое решается с помощью техники, и есть специальные приложения, программы и так далее, которые позволяют либо аудио, в основном это аудио, естественно, и я думаю, что это все зависит, я могу сказать, у нас на данный момент нет учащихся с ограниченным зрением, поэтому такой проблемы в данный момент нет, но, разумеется, всегда возможно какое-то решение.
Спасибо.